Taxis and private hire services, which include minicabs and chauffeur-driven cars, are a vital part of the country's transport network. People spend more than £2.5 billion each year on fares. Many people rely on them to get to work, and for a large number of people with disabilities, they're the only practical means of getting around. But the law governing taxis and private hire is out of date and no longer fit for purpose. We were asked by the Department of Transport to review all this law and make proposals for a new modern piece of legislation governing the trades. We have proposed a single Act of Parliament to govern the whole of taxi and private hire services in future, with core national standards for safety and accessibility for both sets of trades, at the same time allowing local authorities to set additional conditions for taxis in their areas. We are getting rid of the confusion currently over pedicabs and over stretch limousines and other novelty type vehicles, where at the moment it's uncertain whether they can be regulated at all, and if so, under which licensing regime. We're proposing keeping the two-tier system of separate regulation for taxis on the one hand and private hire vehicles on the other. It'll continue to be the law that only taxis can accept immediate hirings at ranks and by being hailed in the street. Minicabs and private hire vehicles will continue to have to be pre-booked. We're leaving wedding and funeral cars unregulated. Many people enjoy a journey in a vintage car on their wedding day, and we're not going to introduce standards that make it difficult to offer those sorts of services. Nothing we're proposing will affect the status of London's iconic black cab with its high standards of safety and accessibility. Accessibility and meeting the needs of passengers with disabilities has been an important feature of our reforms. We're proposing that for the first time, all drivers will have to undergo courses of disability awareness training. We're proposing that local authorities should be able to make it a requirement that taxis stop when people hail them, which isn't the law at the moment, though many people think it is. This is a way in which we're making it easier for disabled people to receive a good service from the trade. One area where we've changed our minds after listening to our consultees is as to whether local authorities ought to be able to limit the number of taxis working in their areas. We've been persuaded that they should continue to be allowed to do that, as many of them currently do. Under our proposals, local authorities will still be able to regulate taxi fares. We think that's an important aspect of consumer protection. We've had to deal with the impact of new technology on the trade, in particular the smartphone apps that enable people to hail taxis or make pre-bookings by tapping a finger on a screen. We have introduced some proposals which will give clarity to what charges can be made in those circumstances and the extent to which local authorities can regulate them. Our report, with full details of our recommendations and a draft Act of Parliament to give effect to them, can be found on our website.